Greetings, my dear viewer. This is a channel about marital infidelity and about the consequences if one spouse starts to cheat on the other. If you, as well as I do, support true family values and condemn cheating, then subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Let's get started. It was a quiet Monday evening, the clock nearing 7:30. I had been immersed in a demanding project in my home office, which still loomed over me with unfinished tasks. Deciding to call it a night, I wandered into the softly lit kitchen, retrieved a chilled bottle of my go-to Indian pale ale from the fridge, and took a sip. My gaze drifted toward the window, and there she was, Joy, lounging on the outdoor sofa near the fire pit and pool. Her legs were tucked beneath her as she chatted animatedly on her phone. I considered stepping outside to join her, but paused when I noticed her familiar habit of twisting a strand of her blonde hair around her fingers. It was a small, unconscious gesture I had come to recognize deeply over the nearly 3 decades of our life together. This subtle trait, far from flirtatious, had always seemed a soulful quirk, a reminder of countless late-night phone calls during my business trips. I would picture her just like this, hair twisting absent-mindedly, even though hundreds of miles separated us. That simple thought used to comfort me, filling the emptiness of those lonely nights. Through the window, I observed her radiant smile and light-hearted laughter, her presence illuminating the cool evening. Although I couldn't see the sparkle in her eyes from my vantage point, I was certain it was there. But as I watched, admiration shifted to a growing unease. She appeared entirely too engaged, too vibrant, as if speaking to someone who held a special place in her heart. For 45 agonizing minutes, I stood rooted, watching her share a connection that seemed far too intimate to exclude me. When she finally ended the call, the dreamy smile lingering on her face felt like a knife twisting in my chest. Feeling hollow, I retreated to the family room and flipped on the TV, pretending to care about a local baseball game. A little while later, Joy entered and asked, "How long have you been done with work?" "A while," I responded flatly. "Why didn't you come out back?" she pressed. "You were on the phone. I didn't want to interrupt," I replied casually. "Oh, for heaven's sake, that was just Steve. We were talking about the Phillips account," she explained dismissively. I nodded and turned back to the game. But I could feel her eyes on me, searching for something beneath the surface. She disappeared into the kitchen, returning moments later with a glass of wine before settling on the couch beside me. "What's the score?" she asked. "Not sure," I admitted. She chuckled lightly. "Do you even know who the Sox are playing?" "The Blue Jays," I answered absently. We sat in silence through half an inning until a commercial break prompted her to speak again. "Let's have the kids over for a barbecue on Saturday," she suggested. "Sure," I replied curtly. She tried to spark a conversation, but my brief, indifferent responses seemed to deflate her. Eventually, she asked, "Chris, what's wrong?" "Nothing," I lied. "You're not yourself tonight. Do you want to talk about it?" She pressed gently. "No," I said firmly. The silence stretched into the next inning until, as if to dispel the tension, she stood up and removed her blue V-neck t-shirt with practiced ease. Smiling playfully, she said, "How about turning off the TV and coming upstairs? I'm sure I can help you relax." "Not tonight, Joy. I'm not in the mood," I replied flatly. Her grin widened as she reached for me. "Come on, big boy. Mama needs you," she teased. I met her gaze and said coldly, "What part of not in the mood don't you understand?" Her face fell. "What's your problem? I was just trying to be nice," she said defensively. "Joy, you turn me down at least twice a week. The one time I say no, you act like a child. Grow up and leave me alone," I shot back, my voice sharp. She glared at me, her expression hard enough to cut steel, before storming out of the room. For the first time in our marriage, I found myself sleeping in the guest room, or rather, lying awake, staring at the ceiling and devising a plan. By 3 a.m., I knew there was no point in staying in bed. I showered in the kids' old bathroom, then slipped into the master bedroom to quietly collect my clothes without waking her. Before heading to work, I installed tracking apps on both her personal and work phones, syncing them to my devices. Though I arrived at the office with a pounding headache and too much caffeine in my system, I managed to power through and finalize a crucial presentation. It was imperative to prepare for my 2-day trip starting early the next morning. Tuesday evening was icy at best. We exchanged few words, and any pretense of intimacy was absent. By Wednesday morning, I was on my way to the airport for a 7:20 a.m. flight. The day went well. I made significant progress with the client and felt optimistic about closing the deal. But every few hours I checked Joy's location. She was either at home or work, yet a gnawing feeling of distrust persisted. That night, as I dined alone in the Marriott lounge, I checked the tracker again. At 7:30 p.m., her location pinged at an upscale neighborhood miles away. The address? Her boss's house. My suspicions crystallized. The months that followed were tense, yet passed quickly. I remained polite but distant, while Joy made visible efforts to repair our relationship. Our intimate moments, when they happened, felt mechanical and devoid of genuine connection. Tracking her movements confirmed my fears. She confined her affair to the times I traveled. Discreet cameras I installed around the house revealed her packing bags and heading to Steve's whenever I was away. Acting on advice from a lawyer, I hired a private investigator. The evidence he uncovered left no doubt. Joy and Steve were caught in intimate acts in his backyard, recklessly exposed despite their secrecy. The images were irrefutable. Armed with this proof, I began laying the groundwork for the inevitable. On Thursday evening, I made the most painful phone calls of my life to our 3 grown children. As I explained my decision to divorce their mother, I broke down each time. When they questioned me, I asked, "Do you want me to show you the evidence?" None of them could respond. By Friday morning, everything was set in motion. Nearly 3 decades of marriage had come to an undeniable and heartbreaking end. Thankfully, everyone else said no, leaving me with a deep sense of relief. Joy picked up on the 4th ring. "Hey, sweetheart, this is a nice surprise. How are your meetings going?" Her voice was warm and inviting. "Hey, love, meetings are the usual grind. You know how it goes. How's work?" I asked. "I'm just glad it's Friday. I've been counting down until you're home. It's been such a lonely week, and I'm really hoping we can make up for it this weekend," she replied with a playful lilt. Her indirectness about work didn't go unnoticed. Over the last few months, I'd come to recognize Joy's knack for avoiding certain details. She continued, "So, what made you call me out of the blue?" "I've got a question for you," I began cautiously. "It might seem strange, but I'd like an honest answer. This must be serious. You hardly ever call like this." "What is it?" she asked, intrigued. "Do you like my smile?" I said. "Your smile? What kind of question is that?" "Of course I adore your smile," she replied, sounding slightly puzzled. "You've said that many times before," I reminded her. "It was actually the first thing you ever said to me. Remember that night at the frat party? You walked straight over, leaving your friends behind, and told me, 'You've got a great smile.'" Her tone shifted, tension creeping in. "Chris, what's going on? You're starting to worry me." I tried to keep my voice steady. "I've always tried to stay positive, to focus on the good. Even when times were hard, being with you and raising our 3 amazing kids made it all worth it." "That's one of the things I love most about you," she said softly. "Your optimism, your smile, your strength, all of it. You're everything a man should be, Chris. I love you for that." The tears came then, unstoppable. Despite everything, her love for me was undeniable. Her voice grew more urgent. Christopher Harrington, tell me what's wrong. Please." Her sincerity only deepened the pain of what I needed to say. "I don't think I can smile anymore," I admitted, after a long pause. The silence that followed was heavy, stretching out for what felt like an eternity. I imagined her thoughts racing, fear growing as she tried to make sense of my words. "Chris, you're scaring me. Just tell me what's going on," she pleaded. "It's too late, Joy. Talking won't fix anything," I said. "No, don't say that. It's never too late for us. We can work through this together," she insisted, her voice breaking. I shook my head, even though she couldn't see. Conversations require trust, respect, and love. I know you love me, Joy, and I love you too. But I can't trust you anymore, and you've lost respect for me. Without those, there's no way forward. She tried to interrupt, but I pressed on. "Respect is gone, Joy. Go to the living room window," I instructed. "What? Chris, what are you talking about?" she asked, panic rising in her voice. "Get up from Steve's lounge chair, walk through his kitchen, and look out the front window," I said firmly. The line went silent until her scream shattered the quiet. "Oh God, no, he knows. Chris knows." From my vantage point 75 feet away in Steve's driveway, I watched through the front window. Joy stood frozen beside Steve Davis, her lover, her boss, and the owner of this house. The sun's glare masked some details, but their outlines were unmistakable. I climbed into the U-Haul truck, backed it up, and stopped abruptly in the circular driveway. Boxes spilled out, tumbling onto the pavement and lawn. The sound of fragile items breaking was sharp and final. Among the shattered pieces were fragments of her great-grandmother's china. Joy emerged onto the steps, wearing the bikini I'd given her for our anniversary, the one she saved exclusively for him. Steve followed, awkwardly wrapped in a robe. They didn't notice the unfamiliar car parked nearby until a woman got out, approached, and handed each of them a yellow envelope. "Joy Harrington, you've been served," she announced, snapping a photo. Then she turned to Steve. "Stephen Davis, you and your firm, Smith, Davis & Lewis, have also been served." Another photo, and she walked away. No one moved at first. Finally, I spoke, my voice carrying clearly across the yard. "I think we can all agree I deserve better than a deceitful, unfaithful wife." Joy groaned, but stayed silent. Turning to Steve, I said, "Contact my attorney and make a generous settlement offer, or I'll ensure you and your firm are ruined. Joy, sign the papers. We're done." Without waiting for a response, I climbed back into the truck and drove away, leaving behind their stunned expressions and my broken past. My friend, and this is the end of the story. If you liked this story, then put your royal like and subscribe to the channel. May the force be with you.